I'm really excited because this is the last video I'm going to record this afternoon. It's almost 5 o'clock, and then, and within an hour, I'm going to be in a pool swimming, getting some exercise, being with my kids. It's going to be great. But in this video here, the last video that I'm going to record this afternoon, we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. But before we get down to talking about emotional intelligence and the emotional quotient, EQ, I just want to show that, hey, I renamed this previous lecture video that we just did. I thought, you know what, a better name is for this video. It's learning more effectively. Instead of how learning works, I changed it to learning more effectively, and I like that better. So I'm making a decision. I'm exercising that internal locus of control and making decisions to build things to be the way I want them to be because I'm building this course. So I get to decide what it's going to look like, and I like learning more effectively better. All right, now we're going to talk about cultivating emotional intelligence, and we're going to see some amazing resources and how, that could help you more than almost anything in life, because there's three things that make you successful in life. One is what you know, the other is who you know, and the third thing is mindset. And your emotional intelligence is greatly going to help you with who you know, because you have to have emotional intelligence. You have to have that, emotional intelligence to have great relationships. You need emotional intelligence to do that. But emotional intelligence will also help you with the other ones, which is what you know, and also with mindset, because if you have emotional intelligence, you'll be able to face challenges. You'll be able to regulate yourself, and regulating yourself emotionally means that when you have challenges, when you have things which are frustrating, you'll be able to tell yourself skillful stories instead of, horrendous stories, which create strong reactions and maybe lead to histrionic responses. Histrionic responses are just like really big emotional responses, which can be hard for the person that's having them and also hard for the people that are around them. Right? So emotional regulation, like having that emotional intelligence and being able to tell yourself more skillful stories, like, okay, everybody hits challenges. That's not the way I wanted things to go, but I'm resilient and I've got that self-efficacy and that internal locus of control, and I'm going to be able to make decisions, and life is long, and I'll be able to take new actions, and I'm going to recover from this, right? Like you could tell yourself skillful stories and have that great mindset, that emotional regulation. That emotional regulation is part of also having a great relationship with yourself, and that comes from having emotional intelligence. Intelligence. And emotional intelligence is understanding emotions, understanding your own emotions, understanding the emotions of others, and understanding these touchy-feely psychological and sociological things which can occur in relationships with yourself psychologically and also in relationships with other people, right? Psychology is the study of the individual, generally speaking, and sociology is the study of groups of individuals. But like understanding these touchy-feely kinds of things, like having empathy for people, knowing how to mirror people, knowing how to have good conversations with people. And so this is all part of emotional intelligence. And why is this important? Why is it important? It's important because emotional intelligence is like, it correlates with success. It correlates with success. You have to know how to work with people. You have to know how to get along with people. You can't be so busy that you don't take time to connect with people. Like the quality of your life is going to be dependent upon the quality of your relationships. And to have great relationships with people, it takes time. You can't just be in a rush. You can't just be downloading information to people all the time and telling people what to do. It's like, hey, who are you? How are you? Right? That's part of what's going to make you successful, is to have people that you work with, people that you trust, and people who trust you and will recommend you and want you to be part of their lives. The quality of your life depends upon the quality of your relationships. And this really comes down to emotional intelligence. So having great emotional intelligence is going to help you be more successful. And this, by the way, is coming from somebody where this was a big area of challenge for me in my life. It was such an area because I had that PTSD. I survived a traumatic event. I had depression and I had anxiety. And I also had this real fear of being attacked by people again, right? I had a big fear of being attacked by people. And so I was really, when I was younger, I really struggled, and I was challenged with trusting people and, being calm, not being freaked out, not being anxious. I had depression, I had anxiety when I was young, and I had to learn to take a breath and relax. And I also felt this panic, like I had to accomplish, I had to achieve, and I had to do it now. And that made me too rushed. And I had to learn to be like, you know what? Count my blessings, look around. So much is good right now. And be thankful for what I have, and then do what I can to move the ball forward, but also take time to just be chill and connect with people and ask people, how are you? What's going on with you? And the more I did that, the better my life became, because the quality of your life depends upon the quality of your relationships, not only in one area, just professionally, but in all areas. My life became better. Just getting time to know people. And knowing people will unlock and open so many doors for you. So when I was young, I was challenged. I was challenged with my emotional intelligence, and I had to learn about it. But I took the steps to learn about it. I went to therapy, I read, I learned, I practiced, I gained new skills, and that grew my emotional intelligence. It grew my ability to have relationships with people and to trust people again. And it all is turning out well. It's all turning out well. And life is a lifelong process. Thank goodness. All of our life, we get to keep learning and growing. And I've definitely grown and advanced a tremendous amount. And I still have room to go. Thankfully, I still have room to grow. None of us is ever completely done. So emotional intelligence is something you can cultivate, and you can cultivate it by learning about stuff and growing that one, what you know, who you know, and mindset. You could grow all of these, right? And as you grow these, what you know, and you could grow your what you know when it comes to emotional intelligence and being skillful in relationships, right? You could grow all of that in your mindset and who you know, and you could practice skills. And so I provided a bunch of resources down here of things that were useful to me as I was growing my emotional intelligence and becoming more skillful in life. So you could pause the video and you could look through here, or you could go back to the early videos in the course where I linked the course outline. And it's usually in the very first video and or the second video, and you could get the course outline and you could download this. And you could have all of these links and resources to different books that really, and Charles Duhigg has a book called Super Communicators. I haven't read it yet, but I'm thinking maybe that'd also be useful. But I haven't read it, so I didn't put it in here. But here are some great resources, and then here are some more resources. So I like the Joe Rogan podcast just because he's the world's best podcaster, and he really knows how to communicate with people. He knows how to talk with people. And there's a calm, relaxed, chill, inquisitive, humble quality to how he communicates with people and asks questions. Like, he is an incredible communicator, and it's interesting, right? Like, that's what's made him successful. It's interesting to listen to him talk to different people. And so I like listening to that just to see, like, okay, what is like the world's best communicator, one of the world's best communicators, talking with people? How does he talk? What does he do? And just by listening to him and enjoying it, I'm absorbing that kind of quality and I'm learning from him. I'm consciously applying, inclining my mind in that direction. I'm consciously inclining my mind in that direction to kind of absorb like his good communication skills so that they'll also become part of mine. Because just like in basketball, you see somebody do something cool on the court, you're like, wow, that was a nice move. How'd you do that? Show me that again. And then they do it again. You're like, I'm going to start practicing that. And then you practice it for a while. And then after a while, that becomes your move too, right? You saw somebody do a move, you practice it, and then you owned it. It became part of your skill set, your repertoire of what you could do on the court. And that's true in basketball, and that's also true on the court of life. That's true in life also, right? I incline my mind towards learning from Joe Rogan when I listen to him. And then I'm like, oh, wow, those are really cool questions. And I like how he's asking those questions. And I like his humility. And I like how he's like, I don't know anything about that. Tell me more. It's totally new to me. That's so fascinating. It's interesting. And I like how he does this sort of there's this way when people communicate that they signal to the other person that they're listening. They're like, yeah, right. Oh my gosh, tell me more. Like these little things that just tell the person you're listening and you're having a response to what they're saying and that you're right there with them. So, you can listen to that. Ram Dass is also a super interesting guy. He used to be a professor of psychology at Harvard. And his name, before he became Ram Dass, was Dr. Richard Alpert. And Dr. Richard Alpert realized when he was a professor of psychology at Harvard that him and all of his colleagues knew more than anybody else in the world about the mind. And still he felt like, it didn't really make that big of a difference and he had more to learn. And so he went to India and found spiritual gurus. And one of his spiritual gurus gave him the name Servant of God. And he was looking for higher meaning, but he has really interesting talks. And I found them meaningful in my life. Maybe they'll resonate with you, maybe they won't. These two are great right here. So I really encourage you to check those out. I also, on YouTube, listen to, Tony Robbins quite a lot. So I'll just put that down. Just recently, I've totally gotten into him. And then there's workshops you can attend. And so here are some of those workshops. And, they're people that like this person, I liked his book, and I definitely think he knows what he's doing. This person, I've taken workshops from her. She's amazing. And Tony Robbins has workshops. And you can learn about them in this documentary, I'm Not Your Guru. So there are some resources to help you cultivate emotional intelligence. We all have challenges, we all have dysfunction, we all have unskillfulness, and to varying degrees. And part of what we're put here to do as humans is to become more skillful, to learn, to grow, to iterate, to improve, to evolve, because that's what all of nature is doing. And you are nature. Like nature is always iterating, improving, evolving. That's what nature is doing. You are part of nature. That is what all of nature, including you, is put here to do, right? It's to improve, to grow, to iterate, to change, to get better, to evolve. And so we all have our unskillfulness, we all have our dysfunction, and it's our job to try to become more skillful and to learn about it. And if you could do this two ways. You could like keep being dysfunctional and unskillful and keep suffering until you figure it out on your own. Or you could also consciously and proactively seek out becoming more skillful and functional by learning about stuff with a lot of those resources that I gave you, and also wherever else you can find it and practicing it. So you really want to kind of put a heads up in your own life. All right, this is something else I want to cultivate. I want to cultivate my emotional intelligence, and I want to become more skillful, and I want to drop that unskillfulness and that dysfunction so I could do better in life, so I could be more effective in all ways, with my health, with my happiness, with my relationships, with my finances, with my career. In all ways, I want to do better. I want to be more skillful. And so that is like almost that's a prayer for me right there. In all ways, I want to do better and be more skillful in all ways. And I literally say a prayer every night. And this is the prayer I say. And so, for me, I believe there's goodness in all of the world's belief systems. So it's really hard for me just to say, hey, there's any one belief system, any one sect, any one denomination, which is the correct one, right? And so I think that there's a lot of beauty and benefit in so many of the world's wisdom traditions. That's what they're called in some academic circles. And so it's hard for me to, subscribe to anyone. And I have family who has some, native indigenous culture in their roots. And so this prayer comes more from sort of a native indigenous kind of background. But my prayer that I say every night is I call upon my benevolent ancestors. I call upon my benevolent ancestors and all benevolent forces in the universe to help me find an optimal solution to release fear, to love more fully, and to more effectively provide for my family in all ways. I call upon my benevolent ancestors and all benevolent forces in the universe to help me find an optimal solution to release fear, to love more fully, and to more effectively provide for my family in all ways. So really right there, I'm saying, hey, whatever can help me become more skillful, to let go of fear, to love more fully, and to provide for my family more effectively in all ways, not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually, in all ways. Let me be more effective. Let me serve others. Let me help others. Let me be the best dad I can be. Like in all ways, let me be more effective. And notice that I'm very precise and clear about calling upon these forces. I want the benevolent forces. Benevolent. I want the benevolent forces. And I want a solution which is optimal. I don't want a solution which is very stark and fast and hardcore, Like I don't want that. I don't want the big, hardcore lesson, but I want a solution which is optimal, like help me, lead me, guide me, help me become more skillful. That's truly my prayer every evening that I ask for. And so we could all cultivate this. We could set that intention, and we could call upon whatever benevolent forces we want to call upon to help us become more skillful in all ways and help us cultivate that emotional intelligence so that we can do better in our life and make a contribution to all of humanity. And when we do that, when we're living for others, right, and when we're helping others, we're actually living and helping ourselves, living for ourselves and helping ourselves, like we're benefiting our own life when we're benefiting others. So that's kind of an interesting philosophical thing there. But when you're benefiting others, you're actually benefiting yourself. And you do that because the quality of your life depends upon the quality of your relationships. And success is built by what you know, who you know, and mindset. Right? So, and then like the 4 areas of our health, our physical health, financial health, intellectual, mental, emotional, and then also social. And so you need that social. You need the who you know. You need the quality of your life is going to be determined by the quality of your relationships. And so all of that stuff, becoming more emotionally skillful, having more emotional intelligence, having a higher IQ, right, is going to help you in life. So here are the notes for this lecture, and you can pause the video and you can read them right here. EQ, emotional quotient, is a stronger predictor of success than IQ in many careers. And you could pause the video and you could read these notes right here, and then you could pause the video and you could read those notes right there, and we've already seen these down here. All right, so there's some great resources in there. I'm really excited to share them with you, and they're materials that have really helped me in my life, and I hope that all of this information in this lecture has inspired you towards cultivating emotional intelligence and emotional health in your life, because it's tremendously important, and you have some phenomenal resources to start with and to guide you as you find your way on this amazing journey, which is life.